Criminals, they've got a wish list. Cash, crypto, anonymity, fewer trips into their duffel bag. Maybe a rental car with really tinted windows, a banker named Todd who never asks follow-up questions. And apparently, the Republicans in the House, they saw that list and said, what if we engraved Trump's face on it? Because now there is that push for that $250 bill marking America's 250th anniversary with Donald Trump's face right on it. Yep, $250 bill because nothing says fiscal seriousness like inventing a denomination that sounds like a gift card from Casino Buffet.
Again, as Treasury Secretary, I have two mandates for U.S. currency. At present, no living person can be on U.S. currency, and the currency must say, "In God we trust." So right now there is proposed legislation in front of the House, in front of the Senate, to change the first requirement so that a living person, Donald J. Trump, could be on the $250 bill. So it's all in the hands of the, it's all up on Capitol Hill.
And we've seen the legal problem here. It's obvious. Federal law says that living people can't appear on U.S. currency. Scott Bessent, our Treasury Secretary, has acknowledged that much, saying that current law does block it. So Republicans would need to change the rules just to put Trump's face on the bill. And of course they would, because the fraud father can't just be on hats and coins and steaks and Bibles and NFTs and trading cards and gold shoes and your uncle's Facebook page, or even his own social media site. He now has to conquer legal tender too. Donald Trump sees the U.S. Treasury and thinks, finally, it's a merch table with engraving standards. And NPR's Planet Money laid out a problem here, though. Criminality. Normal Americans are not walking around desperate for a $250 bill. Most people barely use cash anymore on a daily basis. If you buy a sandwich with a $250, the cashier will either call a manager or assume you're trying to buy the whole deli. High denomination cash is only useful when you want to move a lot of value in a small space. That's why criminals love big bills. Tax evaders love big bills. Money laundering likes big bills. It's pretty normal company for Donald Trump. While people who pay their babysitter with Venmo and buy groceries by tapping their card, they're not the market here. So for once, the policy and branding, criminality, are perfectly aligned.
Do you think politically it's a good idea to put his face on a $250 bill when people are struggling to afford gas and groceries?
I don't really understand this Washington Post article. That who hears from the Post? Yep. Terribly written, terribly edited. Because basically what it says is that Treasury is following the law, and that we've created the bill, and that it's up to Congress, but that we follow the bill and it's up to... I didn't really understand what the story was.
So, tax fraud in your pocket, starring your tax fraud president. And yes, I know the argument. Inflation means that the $100 bill isn't worth what it used to be. True. You can barely take your family to a mediocre chain restaurant without spending $100 and leaving with a receipt that looks like the one from CVS. But the answer to inflation isn't slapping the face of the man that's most responsible for that inflation on an even bigger bill. A serious government would ask why we still need so many $100 bills in circulation when ordinary transactions keep moving digital. Economists and law enforcement experts, they've argued for years that large bills make underground transactions easier because cash is anonymous. And even then, we invented crypto to take care of that. And look, just think about the design meeting here. Should we put Harriet Tubman on currency after years of delays? No. Should we maybe honor one of our founding fathers? Nope. Civil rights leaders? Nah. Workers? Scientists? Nope. Let's put the guy in the Epstein files. Let's put him on our bill. And I hear him already, the defenders, calling it patriotic. That's what they always say. Wrap anything in red, white, and blue, and suddenly the question becomes, why do you hate America? Well, friend, I don't hate America. I just hate watching America get turned into a cheesy souvenir shop run by guys who bankrupt all of their businesses and get called geniuses for it. A $250 bill, it doesn't lower your prices. It doesn't help workers. It doesn't improve banking access. It doesn't fight crime. And it doesn't make tax cheats any easier to catch. And it sure as hell doesn't honor the anniversary of our country with any seriousness. All it does is give rich weirdos, corrupt operators, and Donald Trump, who's pretty much both of them, an efficient way to move cash while letting Trump stare at himself on money. But really, when you think about it, this whole thing is a perfect monument to MAGA economics. They say crime's out of control, and then they design better currency for criminals to use. They say inflation is killing people, and then they solve it by creating a bigger denomination that no one asked for. They say America needs dignity, and then propose currency that looks like it came from a dictator, especially one who's a convicted felon. And the most insulting part, if they really wanted to honor 250 years of America, maybe start with the idea that public institutions do not exist to flatter one man's fragile ego. So do me a favor, subscribe, because frankly, right now, I couldn't afford a $250 bill, so maybe click a few times. Help me get there.